Greetings, dear friends. We are glad to welcome you at the International Roundtable. We continue discussing vitally important topics raised at the International Online Conference, Global Crisis, This Already Affects Everyone, which was held on the 24th of July, 2021 on the platform of ALLATRA International Public Movement. Thousands of volunteers from more than 180 countries together with scientists, researchers, professors, politicians, businessmen, and other specialists united their efforts in order to let us know the truth about unemployment, ecological and climate crisis, which we as humanity are facing today. This unprecedented global event was simultaneously interpreted by volunteers into 72 languages, so that millions of people worldwide could finally hear the truth. And it was heard. A lot of people were impressed with what they saw, and they already joined the preparation for the next conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, which will be held on the 4th of December, 2021. Together, we will reveal even more facts and details about the approaching environmental and climate disasters, and what is more important, about the only way out. This time, the conference will be simultaneously interpreted by volunteers to many more languages, so the truth could be heard everywhere and by everyone.
Greetings, dear friends. At today's roundtable, we will talk on those things which worsen the climate crisis, such as ecology, environmental pollution, exploitation of natural resources, as well as on the climate crisis itself and on solutions of these problems. I would like to present our dear guests. Mr. Henry Sami Wanyama from the Republic of South Africa, Executive Chairman at Angaza Africa Limited, a company which is working to restore the dead or dying soils. Magomed Beibamatov from the Chechen Republic of the Russian Federation, an environmental activist and a student of the oldest oil university in the world, Grozny State Oil Technical University. Mahdi Hassan Rakib, journalism student from Bangladesh, and Ms. Anna Hayruddinova, economist from the Russian Federation. Thank you so much, dear guests, for being with us today. And now let's watch a video about what's really happening all over the planet right now.
Modern civilization has entered the stage of instability and global crisis.
The future has already arrived. In the field of artificial intelligence, I really understand that today we see tremendous opportunities and possibilities.
We will have human-level intelligence in terms of problem solving, and that we could have that pretty soon.
And in the consumer society we live in today, it will leave us jobless.
Hello, you are fired.
Every owner of some corporation will create a number of machines, fill it with artificial intelligence, so a human being will simply become out of demand in this chain. Millions of people around the world have already become climate refugees. The events are developing at a shocking speed. The force of cataclysms is growing in progression. Their frequency is increasing every day.
What you can see here is in red are the amount of this particular characteristic of the planet, that is left. And we can see that in many cases, we have lost more than 60, 50, 60, 70% of this particular ecosystem or species.
We're eating our planet. Maybe it's time we realize our responsibility and solve our problems together.
Because sudden large-scale natural disasters occur on the planet on a daily basis. And there are fewer and fewer safe places.
Soon, everyone will be hungry, barefoot, naked, because of consumerism, We are the generation that will see it through. Either we can stand up to it, or it will end with us.
180 countries on the platform of ALLATRA International Public Movement.
It is broadcast live on thousands of YouTube and other streaming channels. Moreover, thanks to volunteers from around the world who understand the importance of this event, the conference is simultaneously translated into 72 languages.
The main value in a creative society is human life, the life of your children, your loved ones.
Only together can we find solutions. And we all want peace and happiness. And together we can create this world.
What we have watched right now is only a part of those shocking facts revealed at the conference about the reality of our current consumer society. And now I would like to start asking questions, and I would start with Ms. Hayrudinova. Could you please tell us and share your impressions of the conference, and tell us how relevant, in your opinion, it is to continue to discuss these topics raised at the conference?
Здравствуйте, друзья! Рада сегодня поделиться своим мнением.
Hello, dear friends. I'm very glad to share my opinion about the conference. Global crisis. This already affects everyone. And I can say that this conference is vitally important for everyone. And, you know, I'm speaking straight right now because we're talking right now about the life and death of the whole humanity. It's about the survival of the humanity. And if you take a look at this conference, you can understand that all the problems that we are facing right now as humanity, these are global problems that are threatening all of us, all of the humanity as species, right? And we can just, stop to exist if we don't change anything. And that is why right now it is vitally important for everyone to realize these problems and unite, stand together, hand to hand, shoulder to shoulder, and collaborate in one goal of survival of us as the humanity, and the possibility to pass this, freedom of life to the coming generations. And in order to basically resolve all those problems, we first of all need to realize that we do have them. And that is why this conference is so important, as it uncovers and reveals all the facts and data that currently are taking place on the planet Earth. And the situation in the world was given as a whole thing. We could see the facts from different spheres of our human life, so that we could understand that the situation right now is not locally important, but it is of the planetary importance. And right now, we all together need to unite to fix these issues.
Ms. Hayrudinova, thank you so much for your feedback. It's a pleasure that you are among those people who do understand the seriousness of the current situation in the world. And now I have a question to Mr. Bibamatov. Mr. Bibamatov, what has impressed and touched you most of all at the conference? And in your opinion, how vital is it to continue discussing these topics raised at the conference?
Здравствуйте, повторюсь.
Hello, dear friends. So I would like to repeat that I'm deeply agree that informing about these problems should be in the agenda, should be the most important agenda everywhere, because if we do not spread this information, that really these problems concern every person. It's not like they concern the people of some country or some city. It relates to everyone, all of us. It is about economics, about healthcare, about military stuff and so on, but what concerns the climate is actually the trouble that comes to our common home, to our planet Earth, and it must be saved. Therefore, this conference, these roundtables contribute greatly to solving of this problem. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your feedback. And now I would like to pass the word to Dr. Vanyama. And I would like to ask him, could you please share your impressions of the conference? And also, in your opinion, how vital is it to continue raising these topics to create awareness in the society?
I think it's absolutely important, particularly at this time, to focus on issues that are affecting and degrading and damaging the planet, which is our only home. We don't have any other home. This time is particularly important in the sense that many people have now been distracted from the main issues to a lot of either politics or threats, whether it's COVID-19, whether it is who wants to fight who. And we have been taken away from discussing issues that are or existential threats related to climate change. And the level of ignorance within society, among society, wherever you look, it's not just confined to one continent, is so high that we need now to draw people in. We need to get people to start understanding that whatever they do at an individual level contributes, if it's a positive activity, contributes a positive input to conserving our environment. And so it's not something you can leave for anybody. So these kind of discussions around what is happening, which is always hidden from majority of the people, is absolutely important at this time when social media has taken us away from the things that we should be grappling with on a daily basis. So we must continue. We must bring in more people. We must inform. We must educate so that people understand what is happening in the environment and what is causing it, how they are contributing to it, or how they can contribute positively or change. If it's a degradation, how can they get involved to turn things around? So I find discussions around that to be absolutely necessary, absolutely important, and things that needs to be continued to reach more people around the globe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vanyama. I totally agree that it is absolutely important to forget about everything which divides us and focus on the main thing, on climate change, on what is required to survive and to build a better society. Thank you so much. Mr. Rahib, question for you. Could you please share with us what touched you most of all during the conference? What points from the conference you'd like to share with the others around you?
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to join this interesting roundtable. And as a translator, I watched this whole unique global conference, and I think the most amazing part of this global conference is that is simultaneously translated in 72 languages. And I think there are a lot of topics that arise in our international global conference. Well-known researchers, well-known scientists have talked about the artificial intelligence, climate change, natural climate disaster, and refugee crisis. And I think natural climate disaster and refugee crisis are most acute problems in nowadays. So I think these two topics are heartbreaking issues. And as a participant of this global organization, I like to tell about my country's situation. and I'm living on Bangladesh, and it's situated in the coastal areas, and almost every year people of Bangladesh are affecting in severe kind of natural catastrophe like severe floods, some kind of tropical storms, tornadoes, and it's a common thing in our region, in our countries, but it's not the problem for any particular reason. If we see the whole world is suffering this kind of a devastating natural climate disaster, and no place on our earth is free from these awful things. And it's always difficult to imagine during natural disaster how awful and miserable condition was remaining in our affected peoples, and it's really heartbreaking issues, and the most important question is that how we can manage with this situation, or how we can handle with this situation, how we can decrease the impact of natural climate disaster. And our scientists and researchers talk about why these natural climate disasters are exponentially rising, and I think the most important thing that if we are facing in any kind of problems, the only solution to solve these problems are unity, because the well-known proverb, we know that united we stand and divided we fall. So no matter what kind of problems we are suffering, it maybe can natural climate disaster or any other problems, the one solution is unity. So I think unitedly we can manage, or we can adapt with any kind of problems. I would like to mention another devastating and another heartbreaking issues that are refugee problems. You know that refugee is one kind of things that I would like to tell about the meaning of refugee, or what we can say about refugee. Refugee are those people who are forcibly leave their house, or leave their own lands, and if we think their actual situation, that how refugee peoples are adapt with any other places, and I think we are, everybody has a responsibility to make a better life for those refugees. I would like to mention some countries, like if you see in Turkey, they are already settled almost 4 million refugees, and if you look in Lebanon or Jordan, almost their half of the population are just refugees, and the same condition is happening in Egypt or Iran or Pakistan. And I would like to mention the conditions of my countries, and Bangladesh is overpopulated country, and we are just 200 million people live in a country that areas is just 147,000 square kilometers, but we are already sheltered almost 2 million Rohingya refugees. So I think refugee crisis is not for any particular region or any particular countries, that it's not a problem for Africa, or it's not a problem for Middle East. It's a global crisis. It's a global problem, so we have to manage it together. Everybody have a responsibility to ensure a better life for every refugee. So it's time to do something to save every human's life. So I think this global conference is a unique chance to open our eyes and what is happening in our earth, and what awful future is waiting for us. So this global conference is a unique chance to knowing very much important things. So it's great to join with this unique global conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rakib, for your feedback. It's obvious that this conference has deeply touched you, and thank you so much for participation as a translator. This is very helpful, and this is a great input, and this is very valuable. Of course, it is pity that your country has already faced climate cataclysms, and we hope that altogether we will be able to change the situation. Definitely, the conference, which was held on the 21st of July, was a significant event which opened the eyes of millions of people worldwide and gave understanding of the real situation in our society and on our planet. We have already crossed the line in our indifference and greediness, and we have almost completely destroyed our home, and yet we are divided, helpless, and exposed to the coming climatic catastrophe with no shelter. The time has come to make a conscious choice, which will still have a little time. Now we have a question to Dr. Panyama. Dr. Panyama, we know that your company, in partnership with others, is working on restoring the soils. Could you please share with us what is the situation with soils in Africa? And do people really understand the scope of the problem and how these affect our lives and our planet?
I run a company called Angaza Africa, which is registered in South Africa, and it's also registered in Kenya. I just didn't tell you from the beginning that I'm a Kenyan citizen residing in South Africa, and so I work in both countries. Our companies, both of them are private companies, so we strive towards making some profit in the work that we do, particularly in the agricultural sector. So we run agribusiness. And in agribusiness, soil is absolutely important because you've got to rely on that to plant crops. Unfortunately, in Africa, since independence, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, we had a heavy usage or practice of industrial agriculture where heavy synthetic fertilizer was used. So most of the soils were bombarded by the high concentration of the fertilizer, whether it was nitrate, focused to potassium, or that. And that has had a very huge impact. Just to share with you one fact, South Africa at the moment has about 4 million hectares, which is declared as bad land. That is land that would otherwise be used for production of food for human beings, but it's now bad land because the soils are dead. The material within that soil is less than 0.02%. The norm is supposed to be 2% supposed to be 2% of the soil, but it has depleted over time. And the heavy usage of synthetic fertilizer is actually encouraged by big industry because it's business for them. And what has happened over time is that they have conditioned all farmers at every level, small, big, large-scale farmers, so that without using their product, you cannot produce anything. The soils are dead. So in our business, the soil became our major business. And we thought, how do we engage with the soil in such a way that we can use it productively? And we decided on two things. We're going to look at the technology that can help us regenerate the soil, and we're also going to work with communities so that if we win and communities win, we are progressing, we shall be happy, we shall be more secure, and that is how societies grow. So at the moment, we are partnering with a company called Viona. They are based in Germany and Canada, but we're producing a coal-based organic fertilizer to use as opposed to synthetic fertilizer, which has become a norm almost. In fact, when we talk about organic fertilizer, one of the challenges we face is how are you going to apply it on large portions of land? And technology, the beauty of technology is that you can do almost anything you need to do with the material that you have. So we are producing coal-based organic from the waste that comes from coal mines. This material is actually a pollutant there. It has been left, it's a waste, and we are getting it to convert it into fertilizer that we put in the soils. We work with communities, very closely with communities. We educate them. Apart from using the fertilizer, we're also training them on conservation farming, crop rotation, so that we continuously keep the soil alive. The tragedy of using synthetic fertilizer has been that the high concentrations expel the naturally occurring nutrients. When those nutrients are expelled from the soil, usually they are washed down through erosion to water streams. And so you are killing the soil and you're polluting the water and therefore affecting aquatic lives there. So it becomes a vicious cycle. I think there is very little understanding on how ecosystems maintain themselves and how they are extremely important in our sustained life on Earth. Now, that ignorance happens among farmers, those practicing industrial farming, and among small-scale farmers, because they have also been made to believe that if you don't use synthetic fertilizer, then your crops won't grow well, and those soils have, over time, become dead. So we've just started producing the fertilizer in South Africa. Next year and the year after, we shall also be producing in Kenya. We are ensuring that we make it accessible to the farmers, so that in their small units, you will realize perhaps that most of our farmers, particularly in Africa, are small-scale farmers. So if you bring them on board, it's very easy to start changing the tide to regenerate the soil even faster, because you now have friends, and by word of mouth, you win them on board. And that is one sure way of ensuring that we regenerate the soil. Now, let me perhaps just emphasize one point. Soil is so important that if it's dead, we're going to attract desertification because the plant won't grow. If it's dead, we won't even be able to discuss poverty because the poor people won't use it for anything that is economically important. If we don't manage the soil, the spin-off or the negative impact of killing the soil ranges not just from economics, but also on security, because hungry people cannot be friendly and they would want to look for something to eat. So it's absolutely important that we focus on the fundamentals, the foundations upon which human life depend. And soil is critical in this sense. So in our company, our spiritual mission is to ensure that everybody benefits from this. Our economic mission or business mission is to ensure that we generate. When we grow in business, our communities are also growing in their business. If a community grows in business, we are sure of getting the market from them. We are sure of the support. So we're supporting them so that they can support us. I think this unity, like one of the speakers has said, if we work in unity, instead of, if we can curtail or control the greed of thinking, I am the only one who needs to succeed, if we work together, there is more to benefit than the current norm. The current norm seems to be that of some companies making so much profit so that they can control others. I think we must agree that we can work in unity and prosper the human race and progress the human race. But if we work in isolation, we are going to create more of environmental problems because of greed than when we work in unity. And we realize that in our companies, and that's why our business is focused on how we can make profit while conserving our planet, so that when we are gone, the next generation has something to be proud of and can take it further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanyama. Actually, I enjoyed your speech. Like you were saying that 4 million acres of dead land in South Africa, that's actually pretty scary and terrifying. I did not know that. But on the contrary, at the end, you were talking about the unity, how people have to unite and switch from the greediness of the consumer system and to creative. That's the way out. And thank you so much for that. And most of people think that environmental pollution is something which is clearly visible. That pollution means just like mountains of garbage or some, dirty dead rivers and so on. But nowadays, pollution has become more and more pervasive. And today, almost everything we can see around is unfortunately polluted in some way or another. For instance, I recently read that in our human body, there is so much nanoplastics that if we can actually put it all together, it's the size of a credit card. I'm pretty sure that's not very good for our health. And this is one of the effects we actually cannot see. And this is actually far more dangerous than we can imagine, this invisible pollution. And now I would like to pass the question to Mr. Baybamatov. And could you please share about these invisible threats that pollute our environment and affect the quality of life?
Yes, right. Like you said just now, it is very true. There exists many cases of utilizing disposal of garbage. We are well familiar with these disposal methods, but the main ones are three. First is garbage dumps, garbage sorting, and garbage incinerators, and so on and so on. So garbage dump, nothing to say here. It's like a primitive type of disposing. They just take their garbage and get it to some pit and throw it there, and leave it there until everything diseases. The sorting is probably the most reasonable utilization of garbage. As for incinerators, actually, this garbage is recycled at very high temperatures. Therefore, there creates a gas, heat, and, so to say, saving energy. But this coin has a flipping side. The reason of the second side, it can be called the substance, which actually does huge harm to any living organism, any breathing organism. Compared to it, no other substance can be compared. This is dioxin. You said that people, if you ask them questions like what they think about environmental problems, they think about the kind of mountains of garbage and so on, but actually dioxin is a very highly toxic substance that can penetrate into the organism. And I will clarify how it's produced. It is actually produced during the incineration of garbage. There is a certain norm, permissible rate at which the body can somehow resist this dioxin, and this is due to the fact that dioxin is produced during volcanic eruptions and during seasonal fires that occur not through the human fault, but they're wildfires. It's called by nature. So there is a certain norm. But incinerators, there are so many of these factories like incinerating garbage that the dioxin has been so much increased. I will not probably talk about all harmful qualities of this substance because it will take me 2 to 3 hours, but to speak in short, when it gets into the human body, it begins to move very quickly. It's spreading like a virus, like it starts to look for the weakest points. It might be reproductive health, it can be immune system, it could be hormonal system, kind of disturbances like cancer cells and so on. They even penetrate blood-brain barrier and enter the brain. So then it starts producing enzymes, supposedly that should fight this dioxin. But in fact, there is no enzyme in the human body that can, in any case, destroy or somehow, partially destroy this dioxin molecule. So one part is, one example only is when a woman gives birth to the child, then a child is born with certain pathologies. There is a certain case, there was a farm and an incinerator plant was built there. So there was a farm, with cows and milk and so on, but some smart guys built this incineration plant there, and people who were supposed to watch over its activity, monitor the ecological norms and so on. There's an environmental police that can check this plant and so on. But this plant was kind of abandoned and not taken care of, and that's when farmers had a question. The milk that they got from cows had very strange taste, and the concentration was quite strange too. So newborn cows began to die. Then it turned out that when they turned to veterinary doctors, they proved that animals actually were born with cancer cells, with problems of blood pressure, problems of blood cells, respiratory system, nervous system, and they were doomed to certain death. So right now you can, think dioxin, what it is, what is it? I never heard of it. So yes, for the majority of people, it's something they don't know, and thinking that this is the main problem, probably they think that it will never affect them. In 2008, in Ireland, tons of produce was taken from stores where dioxide exceeded the norm 200 times. You just think about this figure, 200 times. And at the same time, I can say once again that dioxins cannot get out of the body and they accumulate them. And so, I used to be very healthy, walking around someone, but now I have brain cancer. So that was back in 2008 when the incineration plants were, very little and industry cells. But imagine so many years have passed after that, and just think of it. What is the probability of dioxin not being present in the food that we eat? And there's a scientist that is I really much admire. He says that in 2017, during the World Conference in Great Britain, he said that all these incineration plants are to be removed. So, but those that are not built, just cancel their building and gradually remove all the plants out of the operation. While in Russia in particular, they say that 5 more plants will be built before 2024. And why do all these scientists who are in Europe and who went all the way of this incinerator plants thing, they actually came to this conclusion this verdict that incineration plants are not so safe, so they must be abandoned as an idea. So after a certain experience, they came to the conclusion that it is already necessary to find some alternative methods of garbage disposal. So right now, the earth below our legs, is full of garbage of chemicals, and the ocean is like a poisonous soup, with the floating garbage. I would like to conclude with Einstein's word: a wise man solves the problem. A smart man solves the problem. A wise man tries to avoid it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bibamatov. Thank you for those facts you shared with us. I have to admit that they are frightening. The fact about developed country, Ireland, it's a pity to hear this. And it's, of course, pity to realize that there can be something spreading in your body and you cannot even see this. And then you cannot even get rid of this. And also, the modern paradox of the modern world is that we treat ourselves as developed civilization, but funny and at the same time sad fact is that we cannot even deal with our garbage. We see that the situation with pollution is really global and even not visible for an individual, and it's really life-threatening. Right, we have polluted our planet and everything on it. But thanks to the information provided at the conference, we realized that there is even a much bigger problem, which we currently not ready to deal with at all, the climate crisis. Let's find out a bit more about that.
Summer of 2021. Fires, floods, hurricanes, and abnormal heat waves. What is happening to the planet? You are used to hearing that global warming on the planet is due to human activity. The truth is, the problem is much more global than that, and it is rapidly gaining momentum, and there is nothing we can do to control it. The reasons for what is happening are within the planet, which has entered a period of global cataclysms. Nucleus. In 1998, a drastic shift of the planet's core was recorded. After that, the GRACE satellites and instruments on the Earth's surface detected an abnormal expansion of the planet at the equator, as well as heating from the inside. Because of the displacement of the core, it is unbalanced. With its vibrations, it creates shock waves, which are manifested on the surface of the planet by increased earthquakes and cracks on the Earth's surface. Through these cracks, a large volume of water escapes into the bowels of the planet. Molten magma rushes to the surface and heats this water. The water evaporates and escapes into the atmosphere. These enormous masses of water fall down in the form of sudden torrential rains. As the planet expanded, new continental rifts began to form. The number of volcanic eruptions increased. Significant tsunamis, including catastrophic ones, tornadoes, tropical storms, and hurricanes became more frequent. Floods and wildfires have become part of the daily news. Since 2015, the situation has become even worse. And today, the deformation of the planet continues to escalate enormously. Earthquakes. Earthquakes with magnitudes greater than 8.5 have increased dramatically over the past 20 years. Since 2003, synchronization of seismic noise began. which means that the Earth is preparing for a mega earthquake. According to scientists, it will occur in the Japanese archipelago and will have a magnitude of more than 10, which is 32 times stronger than the 2011 Tohoku earthquake of magnitude 9. Entire countries could disappear from the face of the Earth at any moment. Volcanoes. Since the beginning of the 20th century, the number of powerful volcanic eruptions has doubled as a result of growing internal energy of the planet. There has also been a steady increase in the strength of eruptions and the amount of ash and lava that has been released. Today, about 600 million people live near active volcanoes, capable of destroying entire cities at any moment. And every day, the probability of these events is only increasing. Glaciers. Greenland and Antarctic glaciers are losing 3 times more mass than 30 years ago. We are told that global warming is the cause. We are not told that the glaciers are melting from the bottom up because of the intense release of heat from the Earth's interior. For example, Antarctica is only melting on the west side, where there is a huge magma chamber. Greenland's glaciers are shrinking for a similar reason. Obviously, man has no influence on what is happening. World ocean. In 2019, the temperature of the world's oceans rose 0.075 degrees Celsius above average. This may not seem much, but in fact, the numbers are catastrophic. The energy for such heating is equivalent to the explosion of 3.5 billion atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima. And this energy came from the very bowels of the Earth. Melting of the sea ice and expansion of the warming water has caused the sea level to rise by almost 15 centimeters in the last 30 years. And this is just the beginning. There has also been an increase in the number and power of storms, as well as a significant acceleration of currents. Hurricanes, tornadoes. The year of 2020 broke all records for the frequency of hurricanes and tropical cyclones on the planet for all time. Because of increasing humidity and rising temperatures, the intensity and number of tornadoes has increased. They have become more frequent, where they used to be rare. Since the 1950s, the number of tornadoes in Europe has increased tenfold and continues to grow.
It's freaking destroyed, Josie!
Temperature anomalies and records. According to the data prepared for the IPCC report on climate change, over the past 140 years, the average temperature on the planet has risen by 1 degree Celsius and by 3 degrees Celsius in the Arctic. And we can already see the catastrophic consequences right outside the window. The period since 2000 has accounted for 19 of the 20 hottest years on the planet in the history of meteorological observations. Floods. Floods are one of the most common natural disasters that are also growing in strength. 60 years ago, only 8 major floods were recorded per year. However, in 2020, this number increased by 25 times and totaled 201 cases. Moreover, they began to occur synchronously, affecting several countries at once. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the number of floods in the U.S. has increased by approximately 100% over the past 30 years. Between 1998 and 2017, floods affected more than 2 billion people worldwide.
There's so many people dead!
Already today, millions of people have become victims of climate catastrophes and were forced to leave their homes, their countries, and even continents. The raging force of climate disasters didn't care about their status, their nationality, or any other affiliations. But we know from the conference that in the near future, billions of people will have to leave their homes to simply find safe territories in order to survive in this phase of the global climate catastrophes. And now I would like to pass the word to Mr. Rakib and ask him a question. Mr. Rakib, could you please tell us how climate change is already affecting your country? And do you think we are ready for the upcoming global challenges?
Thank you. In my previous answer, I like to tell the condition of my countries, and previously I mentioned that in my country situation in the coastal areas, and that's why floods and tropical storms, cyclones, tornado is a common thing in my countries. And nowadays, for rising sea level, our coastal lands are just vanishing, so that a lot of people are already being a refugee in our own country. So it's totally just heartbreaking thing. And my country is called of mother of rivers, a lot of rivers in my country. And that's why riverbank erosion is a common thing. Because of riverbank erosion, a lot of people are losing their lands. So they are just forcibly migrated to in the cities, and cities are being overpopulated, and it's trying to be it's just awful things are happening in my country, and natural climate disasters are actually severely destroy our communities, and it's really awful things that are continuously suffering in our whole population. And in our global conference, we see that it's not the common thing in any particular region like coastal areas. It's happening in the whole world. Even we see floods in Europe, severe floods happening in Germany, France, Belgium. So it's not the particular natural climate disaster happening in the particular region. A lot of natural calamities are happening in the whole world, and on the videos we are seeing that these kind of natural climate disasters are exponentially rising, and so it's matter of alarming that we have to be conscious about our nature. We have to be conscious for our future, because natural climate disasters are destroy our whole community. It's creating humanitarian crisis. So it's the most important things that to our people about natural climate disaster and climate change. As a journalist, I am seeing that a lot of people don't believe about the climate change. They think that it's really fact, false or fake things, but the climate change is real, and it's happening right now in all over the world, and no people, no place are free from this awful impact of natural climate disaster. And I think this global conference is really important and really necessary to informing people all around the world, to informing how natural climate disasters are destroying our earth, our only living place, because earth is our only living place. We can't move in another place for living. It's our only place for living, so it's our responsibility to save our earth. It's our responsibility to save all humans from this awful natural climate disaster. And I think it's high time. It's high time to be aware about the negative impact of natural climate disaster, because if we don't aware about it, or if we take steps to reduce the negative impact of natural climate disaster, soon we will be suffering a lot. Already we are suffering a lot, but in near future the condition will be more worse. So it's high time to tell people about the negative impact of natural climate disaster, and tell about how we can manage with this awful situation, and it's our responsibility to help people who are suffering in a devastating natural climate disaster. And this global conference will be so much helpful to tell people about the negative impacts of natural climate disaster. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rakib. I totally agree with you that what's going on in your country is heartbreaking, and not just in your country. Unfortunately, most people worldwide and in Bangladesh, they do not even know how to deal with this. They have no idea how to overcome this. And that's why we should inform people worldwide even more actively. We see that everything is extraordinarily bad, both with the environment and with the climate. And that the situation with climate refugees is already critical, since in the consumer format of society, where money and profit are in the first place, no one really cares about the life and prosperity of people. Ms. Hayredinova, could you please tell us how important is it now to understand that the root of the problem is in the consumer format of our society? How important is it not to turn a blind eye to what is happening and really realize the seriousness of the situation? After all, these are the lives of millions of people, and in the next years, it will definitely affect each of us. Do we people really understand the criticality of the situation and the real reason for what is happening?
Yes, indeed. During the conference that took place on the 24th of July and today during this roundtable that we're having, the problems that we are currently facing were voiced, we as all humanity on the planet Earth. But do we really realize the true cause of this critical situation that we're in right now? It is really important for us, in order to change at least something, we need to realize the cause, the root of the problem that causes all these problems, all these issues. And the root is the consumer format of society, such a format of society that we built with our own hands. Maybe someone can say that the consumer format of society doesn't really affect them because, like, you need to think positively, you need to surround yourself with kind and nice people who are creating something, who are building something locally. But to be honest, the consumer format of society affects everyone, every person. And sometimes we doesn't see it, but it really is happening around us. If we touch upon any sphere of our human life, the consumer format of society penetrated it. The format of society where, on the first place, there is benefits, money, but not human life and human safety. Currently, human life does not worth a thing, right? We all are facing the fact that the healthcare does not really have an aim to cure people. It is aimed at basically selling medicine and drugs to people. The education is not aimed to basically educate people, but it is aimed at bringing up people who will be good to rule, right, to manipulate. And every day we see how the prices are basically rising. And who does that? Who did that? We did. We basically shifted our responsibility. We shifted it, the responsibility of taking actions, of making decisions. We passed our right of voice to others. But to the benefit of whom? Do they take these decisions for the benefit of people? No. The ones who are right now ruling the world, they are the same people as we. And they are acting because of fear, because they're not sure in tomorrow. They are also afraid for the future of their children. They're not sure about the future of their family and their future as well. And because of that, they basically do not listen to their consciousness, right? They're not acting from conscious, and no one who is right now in power cannot cope alone with those global catastrophes that are threatening the whole humanity. Only by uniting our efforts we will be able to change it, and we need to realize it that once we recall our own responsibility, our personal responsibility, that we, by uniting, can fix everything. By acting as one single organism, only then we will be able to change everything. And the good news, actually, is that the consumer format of society that I just described, it's not some kind of universe laws that we cannot walk around, right? That we cannot change. No, this is just the system that we built with our own hands. We basically caught ourselves in the trap of the consumer format of society, in illusionary trap that we cannot free ourselves from, because we don't believe that we can live differently. But in fact, we can live differently. And the movement for the creative society is a great example of living differently. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. The example of creative society is definitely the way to how we are showing the whole world that we can actually live together in unity and kindness and peace and love and friendship. And like you mentioned, to be ready to overcome the climate crisis, we really need unity of all people to deal with this challenge and to survive. It's possible to find a solution for such global issues only by uniting our scientific and human potential in order to bring some new technologies and to build society of a new creative format where everything is directed at saving the life of every person on our planet.
It is important that now every person who hears this is active. If we don't do anything, then this is just our choice. But there will be inevitable consequences. We will not be ready for climatic cataclysms, and this will cost us billions of lives. But there is another scenario: to build a creative society, and this is the only way out. Mr. Rahip, could you please tell us, how do you feel the importance, personal importance of informing people about the real situation in the world and informing people about the idea of way out, about the creative society?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to ask these wonderful questions, because in my previous answer, I like to talk about the importance of knowing people about the natural climate disaster, because most of the people even don't know actually what's happening in climate in our whole world. So they are just undoubtedly just illiterate things they are facing with this awful natural climate disaster. So that's why at first we have to inform all peoples about what's happening with climate in the whole world, and how we can manage with this awful situation. And you mentioned the creative society. I am already passing 7 or 8 months with this wonderful global organization, and I think the 8 Foundation of Creative Society is amazing. It's enough to say that why it's need to build creative society, because if you read the 8 wonderful Foundation of Creative Society, you can able to understand why the whole world is necessary to build a creative society, because human life is our first foundation, and everything depends on humanity, and human life is first priority, because if you don't ensure a better life, a safe life for every human, there will be no things to ensure a modern civilization, because modern civilization will be depend on that every human will be living in safely, and every place on our earth will be safe, and every human will be sleep at night with a peaceful dream. So that's why creative society is important, because creative society are holding just humanity, and regardless of countries, cultures, religion, skin colors, no matter, we are just united. Our identity is one, that we are human. This is the main goal of creative society, to build a better life, better future for every human all around the world. So creative society is the only option to build a better life for us, for our next generation. So it's important to build creative society, because it's the only option to save entire humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rakib, that you're part of creative society already, and then you are already taking action, speaking at the conference and inspiring others that they can also talking about the truth openly, and then there is just no time to be scared. We just not right now have to unite and talk about it openly, and thanks to all of our guests, because that's so important that we can actually talk and unite. And now I would like to pass the word to Dr. Wanyama, and I would like to ask him, how important is it to inform people about the real situation which is going on with the cataclysms and our beautiful planet? How vital is unification and consolidation of people in order to overcome these cataclysms?
I had alluded to this at the very beginning, that it is absolutely important. Most of what is happening, especially the negative consequences, the bad action that degrade the earth and the environment, which are responsible for what is happening, climate change and all that, are not known to many people. Now, I think we must recognize any person, any human being, any citizen who has good intentions must understand that big business has taken over the lives of many people. As one of my colleagues, the speaker, the lady mentioned, we have been so distracted from focusing on things that we can change that would make our lives better, to things that are fleeting. You are told about a beautiful vehicle that has come that you need to be buying, when your environment is filled with filth, either from the city, or your rivers are now flooding in a manner that threatens your very home, something that you never used to experience 10 or 20 years ago, and yet you're not able to draw the association. So it is very important that we continue to spread the word that things are no longer the same as they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. And everybody has a responsibility. So for me, a conference like this should, apart from this kind of conversation, we need to think about other ways that we're going to spread the word, get people in. It is through unity, it's through understanding, it's through the acquisition of knowledge. It is by understanding the problem that is facing us, the danger that is looming, that we can be able to think creatively about solutions. And solutions are within and among us. The only thing is that we have to understand the nature of the problem so that we devise the appropriate solutions that can assist in solving that. Secondly, some of the solutions are actually business in nature. I was talking to you earlier about the what my company is doing in manufacturing coal-based fertilizer, which is an organic fertilizer. There have been arguments that, look, you cannot apply this on large pieces of land, and yet we're saying, no, we are challenging that. That means we can still attract people who are just focused on doing business, that there is a better business to do that will generate you some little money, but also go towards achieving a conservation objective. So we have to spread that message. We got to let people understand. We got to inform people. We got to ensure that they increase their knowledge, not just of the dangers, but so let's be proactive. And how can you be proactive? At what level? So individual level, community level, government level, regional level, global level, we must do that and ensure that the power is in our hands to do something to reverse the damage that we have done. Most of the environmental problems that I experience now, apart from the fact that some of them are natural, and natural environmental problems happen slower and we're able to adjust to it. Most of the threatening environmental problems, like climate change, are actually caused by human activities. And until we realize that you may not be directly contributing, but perhaps through buying some of the goods that some of the big companies are producing, without knowing how they produce that, you could be a conduit, you could be an accomplice. You are contributing to damaging your own home without knowing. So I think that we must continue. We have to bring in more people. We have to think about more ways of making people understand the nature of the problem and what solution can be utilized. So this creative society, this kind of a conference is, I think, timely. We have to intensify it. We have to ensure that we reach far and wide to all people, from our politicians, from our local leaders, from students. And if there is a way, and this is important, if there is a way that we can get to curriculum developers in our schools, our universities, and any institutions of learning, because that is where most of the vibrant and young people are. Unfortunately, curriculum is by and large a political product. It's a property of government. Most of it comes from there. If we can have an influence there also through conferences like this, just getting people to understand, we shall start producing graduates that are more conscious, that are solution-oriented, that don't just follow the herd, don't do things because others are doing. I think we need more critically minded people who think about what is my role in doing positive, in doing good, in doing things that will, not continue to damage the environment, help communities. One of our colleagues talked about refugees. How do we live in a manner that will stop this kind of hardship, suffering that people endure because of the actions of others? So I thank you as conference organizers, and we need to do more. Let this just be the beginning, but there is potential to bring more people on board and continue to turn around the tide of degradation.
Mr. Wanyama, thanks a lot. First of all, I'd like to thank you for watching the conference. For me personally, it is important because I understand that the more people know about the reality, the more people know about the way out, the sooner we will change the situation. And thank you so much for taking actions, because participation in this roundtable today, it is an action, because this roundtable will be watched by a lot of people worldwide in different languages, and some of them, they may hear and accept what you personally told us, and this is a responsibility. And that's why I'd like to thank you for that, for your actions. And now I have a question to Mr. Bibamatov. Mr. Bibamatov, without a doubt, together we can do a lot in all areas. But the condition is together, only together. That's why my question to you is, in your opinion, how important is urgent, and the stress is that urgent unification of people? Do you think we have time, any time, to sit and relax, or there is no time anymore? What do you think?
Это проблема, как мы уже сегодня обсуждали на этом круглом столе.
Actually, this problem, as we discussed during this roundtable, is very relevant, and it will be relevant for dozens of years, because if we don't tackle this problem ourselves and start solving it all together, no one will come instead of us to do it, to solve this problem. So therefore, the problem of unity, unification, is surely relevant. It exists, and there are several so-called pathologies that people, when coming together, they pay no attention to global problems. I mean, they may tackle with everyday, problems, or about studying about families. So when we talked about some specific groups of people, like that during the evening, people don't speak during the evening supper about the environmental problems or cataclysms that are coming in schools and universities. I don't know about Europe, but in particular in Russia, I can give you an example that in any city where I visit, we, friends and I go outside and film youth and ask them very simple questions about ecology. And by receiving the answers, we realize that the youth is totally unaware about the ecology, about ecological problems. When we ask what they think, what they answer that it's related, ecology is something related to the atmosphere, to extinction of species from the Red Book, and that's, all their knowledge about the ecology. So in order to solve this problem, and we have talked that there's a problem in informing, it all joins like in a huge snowball of problems that and means that can be gradually solved, but we can solve them only by uniting. The person said, the one who had the camera of Mr. Vanyama said that probably there could be some kind of class hour during the school or university, or maybe seminars, workshops, some speeches with the youth, so that they realize the seriousness of the ecological and climatic problem that is looming over humanity in 2021. Because you have to agree that people who are over 50, 60 years old, they have their stereotypes, they have their thinking and point of view already. And even if this person watches this conference, if we bring a huge amount of facts, proofs to this person and so on, in his head he will sort of drive a conclusion that it doesn't concern him, because he has practically lived his age through his life. And therefore, we should address entirely our attention at the youth and unite humanity in this case, so we can raise a worthy generation of children who would continue to live in the future and interact with this world based on norms of ecological environmental behavior. They will not pollute nature. They will not, indignant about the cataclysms and things that destroy nature. For example, like a person has grown and he started a business, and his business is producing some bottles. Well, let's say he produces some kind of drinks. So he purchases a certain amount of bottles, and we all know that they are harmful. Their plastic is split and it's been degraded over hundreds, thousands of years. So if this person in his childhood taught the ecology and modeled his house more than 4 walls around him, he will consider this knowledge and these norms of ecological security, and he will purchase bottles, of the second recycling, of the third recycling, tertiary use. He would not buy new ones. So we can agree that a certain format of actions can be developed so that won't harm the environment. Because whatever we do, it is connected with ecology. And on this ground, I can say that the issue of unification is very important. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for your feedback. We really appreciate it. And we actually know what we need. And even you talked about it. You talked about the importance of unification, right? How important it is. And we know the world we want to live in, and we are just ready to build it. And we have 8 foundations of creative society, and we should just act. And the question is how? And we would like to ask Ms. Hayrudinova, what simple actions can each of us take right now, irrespective of where we are, what language we speak, what nationality we are, and what conditions we live in?
Indeed, this is a very important question. This is probably the main question, the most relevant to everyone. Many people, when they hear about this, when they hear this information about the fact of the crisis that we are facing, everyone is asking the question, what to do? What can I do as a common, regular person? I'm not the one in power, right? I'm a simple person, but I want to do something. So, the answer is very simple. Join yourself and tell it to your friends. So I will tell you in more detail right now. Right now, we already have a ready-made format of creative society, the society where the human life will be the highest value, will be on the first place, where the safety of every human being will be also on the first place. And this is the format of creative society. And as it was previously mentioned, that you can read the 8 foundations of the creative society on the website ALLATRAUnites.com. And it also has a join us button there. If you want to live in the creative society, if you understand the importance of unity, global unity, if you understand what power does the unity of people carry in itself, you just need to press on the red button, join us, and basically join the movement of people who are already now building the creative society worldwide. And for us to build such a society, we need the whole world. We need all people, all humanity, because as I mentioned, we won't be able to change anything by ourselves. We can change everything only together. And for that to happen, we need to inform everyone. Everyone has to know about it. And that is why right now we are in the first stage of building the creative society, the informational stage. And it is vitally important right now for every human being on the planet Earth to find out about the fact that we can live differently. We're not slaves. We are not slaves of the situation. We can't change everything, but we need to act very fast. We need to act in a fast tempo, because the crisis that we are facing right now, the stage of those crises is very bad. So we need to act fast and all together. One more time, I would like to emphasize that the creative society is a ready model of the society. You can just go to the website allatraunites.com, read about it. You can also read about the stages of building the creative society and the button to join us, to join the project. Guys, friends, please join us and let's together unite and create a flourishing, decent future for us and our children. Who will be able to do it except us? No one will come and do it for us. It's high time to take the responsibility. It's high time to talk honestly about the truth. We have nothing to be afraid of. Either we all together fail as civilization or fly high and, just build something wonderful that we can do by uniting, as this is the only way out for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hybridinova. Thanks a lot. And I agree that sometimes it may seem that the solution is quite complicated, and even a lot of people can think that we can do nothing. But actually, the mechanism is very, very simple. First, understand the reality. Understand what's going on the planet, what's happening to our home right now. After that, understand the solution. Learn more about the solution, accept it, and then share with the others. And then together, we will be able for sure to make the change. Dear guests, we sincerely thank you for your valuable contribution, for sharing your experience and ideas, for participation in today's roundtable, and for supporting the creative society. Of course, many thanks to our viewers, and we would like to remind that today's roundtable was held in continuation of the conference Global Crisis. This already affects everyone. Today, we already understand that even if we stop producing plastics, polluting the oceans, mining for minerals, and start desperately reducing the CO2 emissions, this won't, unfortunately, save us at all. It's time for us to consciously, honestly, with courage, look at the reality for a world, the world that will leave to our children. It's time for us to get rid of our egoism, to finally grow up, to take responsibility and start acting together, as unification is the only way out. To do that, we need to change ourselves. We need to entirely change the format of our society from consumers to creative. We need to stop thinking that somebody can do this instead of us. Today, we still have a chance to survive, to build a creative society, a world in which the life of every person will be the highest value. But only we, people, all and each of us, can be the change.
Thank you so much, Alexei. Right now, millions of people are already participating in preparations for the conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, which will take place on December 4th, 2021, and where the topic of environmental and climate crisis, as well as the consequences of the consumer society, will be even more revealed, more deeply revealed. Everyone is very welcome, not just to view the conference, but also to participate in its organization. The previous conference was simultaneously translated into 72 languages. Can you imagine that? 72 languages. That's just amazing. And it was done all by volunteers. But now at this conference will be even more languages. And if you speak any rare language, we are more than happy to have you in our huge international and friendly team of simultaneous translators. So the truth that can sound also in your language. And people from more than 180 countries are doing everything possible to invite world-famous personalities, opinion leaders, in order to draw attention of the whole world to the climate threat. so that this information is available to everyone in the shortest possible time, so that even more people can learn about the way out, about the idea of creative society, and so that the call for unification sounds all over the world. Speaking about inviting world-famous personalities, as an example, just yesterday, volunteers from Czech Republic went to Karlovy Vary's movie festival to invite Johnny Depp to conference Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. Good luck to them and big thanks for their action. We do hope that Mr. Depp has enough time between shootings to join this conference. And as you can see, everyone's actions are so important, as we need to inform our friends, our colleagues, our relatives, literally the whole world. So we should make sure that every person knows that there is a way out, and that is creative society. So if you're a specialist, a scientist who is ready to tell the people truth about what is the current environmental situation and climate change, or just a person who cares, please write at the following email, info@allatraunites.com, to participate at the international roundtables dedicated to this conference. And if you haven't joined the Creative Society project yet, we would like to invite you to watch the short video together on how to do it, even though Anna just told us so nicely that there is a button to join the conference. We will actually show you a nice example in the video on how to do it. And thank you so much, everyone, and see you at the next International Roundtable.